Hi there traders, this is Steve Miley with another MacroWatch for FX Explained and a happy new year for you for 2020. So let's take a look at the week commencing the 6th of January with a quick recap of what happened at the very end of last year, at the very end of 2019 going into the start of 2020. Well, initially, at the beginning of last week, we saw a risk-on theme. The Santa rally. The markets have been rallying on the equity side. Stocks rallying firmly. We're in a risk-on mode in the end of last year, right the way through from December, really. We had this risk-on theme, anticipation of the US-Sino Phase 1 trade deal being completed. We had signs that that has now been completed. And now we've heard over the holiday period that January the 15th is the likely date for that US-Sino trade deal, Phase 1 trade deal, to be signed. And so markets took optimism of that and rallied. Equity markets rallying into the end of the year and then to begin 2020 on Thursday the 2nd of January. Global stock averages pushing higher to start the year. US equity indices hitting all-time highs on the 2nd of January to kick off the year. However, then on Thursday night going into Friday, we had airstrikes from the US on Iran, and that caused us to shift into more of a risk-off theme. Global equity markets sold off aggressively from all-time highs on the US side and from cycle highs on the European and Asian side. And then we also saw the Japanese yen rallying, dollar yen going lower, and with risk currencies, Australian, New Zealand dollar selling off, and oil obviously spiking higher with these increased tensions in the Middle East. So the risk-on theme that we saw throughout, really overall throughout 2019 and to end 2019 and begin 2020 was kind of rejected on the second trading day of the year on Friday, as we had a significant shift to a risk-off tone, and we're anticipating potentially for that risk-off theme to continue into the beginning of this week coming. Also, we've had some simmering tensions between North Korea and the US through the holiday season in here, with some kind of aggressive comments, potentially aggressive comments coming from North Korea through the holiday season. So we're watching out for developments there. And then the other development was that at the very end of last year, the US House of Representatives completed this impeachment process, deciding to impeach the president. But then we're still waiting. We're in a wait and see mode at the moment, as we're waiting for the House of Representatives to transmit those articles of impeachment across to the Senate and for an agenda to be set for the Senate trial, which we're anticipating maybe for that to develop going into this week. So what are we looking for the week ahead? Well, we had all those geopolitical risks are still there. So we still had the geopolitical focus on Iran, US, potentially on North Korea, and then any developments on the impeachment trial. It must be said, though, the impeachment trial at the moment very much looking that the Republicans are going to side with the president, and they have a 2/3 majority is required to impeach the president, and they do have control of the Senate. However, if we look to the data for the week, what are we focusing on? Well, at the beginning of the week, we have the market purchasing managers PMI index data in here, so we're going to be watching out for that on Monday. That's global data, so we'll be watching that to come from various countries, the major global economic forces on Monday. On Tuesday, we have the US ISM non-manufacturing PMI. So in the US, the ISM data more watched than the market data. So the Institute for Supply Management PMI data for non-manufacturing for the service sector anticipated for Tuesday. And then it's really going to be the end of the week when we have the US employment report, including the non-farm payroll data on Friday, and there's going to be a focus clearly on that. But obviously those geopolitical risks really going to be potentially impacting on markets as we go through the week. A quick run through on everything we've kind of mentioned there on the data side. So the market PMI data on Monday, ISM data on Tuesday. We also get Eurozone retail sales and CPI data on Tuesday. Wednesday, we get that US ADP employment change data, the heads up, the guesstimate, trying to guesstimate the US employment NFP data for Friday. Chinese CPI on Thursday. And as we said, the US and Canadian employment reports coming up on Friday, the 10th of January. I'm going to wrap it up there for this week's Macro Watch, and I'm going to wish you all a great trading week. So traders, don't forget to catch us on the next FX Explained Macro Watch and all the great content on fxexplained.co.uk.